Hey, what is up, everyone? This is going to be our second video uploaded to the Runes of Eve Expandable card game channel. The last video, of course, was the Learn to Play 2.0, going over the changes that we recently made to the game itself. And now, since we're doing the final card list reveals on all of our social media platforms, as well as getting the official print and plays out there, I wanted to just go ahead and dive into something that kind of shows you how, even with just this 100 cards base set, there's a lot for someone to explore upon their receipt of these cards or doing the print and plays. And I couldn't be more excited for our official launch that we will be doing hopefully by the end of this year. We're currently getting the final card list uploaded, updated. We're working on a few other things prior to submitting for printing, and then we are going to be getting some packaging samples so we can go from there. Again, still not sure about the Kickstarter launch, but if we do, I know that we are going to be 100% ready to go, ready to print even before we receive the first dollar. So our goal is to make sure that this game is completely ready. But before all that, I just want to dive into a deck, a brew from base set 1 that you all have the ability to explore, whether it be the print and play files or the cards you already have on hand. So let's dive right in. So we are going to be going over Intellitokens. So this was a brew that I came up with during one of our final playtest sessions and really kind of sold me on the idea of a new card that ended up being created, being pulled from expansion set 1 and pulled into base set. But the first thing I'm going to do is go over our stockpile configurations for this archetype. So we have 3 ancient runes of renewal. So when this rune is broken, or when you activate its action, you get to restore target event with cost 1 or less. This is great because you can restore Calculation or Savage Call. Both cards are really great. We'll go over them in the next slides. Next ancient rune is Ancient Rune of Dedication. We're playing 3 of these, which this one, whether it's broken or you activate its action, you get to create a Savage Warrior. You get to destroy one of your units you control and create a Savage Warrior unit token with 1000 power, then draw one. This is great with any one of your low-cost units that you just want to turn into a token and then draw a card, and it combos really well with Ren's Savage General. Or when she gets destroyed, she also draws a card and creates a token, so you get to draw 2, create 2 tokens, which is really powerful. And we have 3 Ancient Rune of Desperation. This one, when broken or you use it as an action, you deal 2,000 damage to target unit that opponent controls if you control less units than they do. So this is great for spot removal, or if you're trying to take down a larger threat in combination or conjunction with Savage Slice. Ancient Rune of Desperation is great for that. And then we have 1 Savage Rune in our stockpile, and then 8 Intellect Rune, basic rune in our stockpile. So that brings us to a total of 11 Intellect runes in our stockpile and 7 Savage runes in our stockpile. So we're definitely more Intellect heavy in this build of the archetype. So let's go into the event cards we're playing. We're playing 3 Calculation, which is just our quick event. 1 cost, 1 Intellect rune, research 1, draw 1. Which means look at the top card of your archive. You can place it at the bottom of your archive if you choose, and then draw a card. We have 3 Last Ditch Effort. This is an Intellect staple. It's a quick event. You can play it any time. You exhaust 2 target units. This is great whether you're playing defensively, but also really powerful offensively when you're trying to close out a game. You have the 2 copies of the Way of the Intellects. This is their Way card. We don't want to have too many copies in this build of the archetype itself, just because it's not truly necessary, because we're more so of a tempo deck as opposed to trying to control the opponent. So we just want enough counter spells to be able to stop our opponent from playing something really big. But other than that, we're either going to be tapping their things and getting through with tokens, or we're just going to be forcing them to really awkward situations because we're trading off our much lesser bodies for their larger ones a large portion of the time. We're playing 3 Savage Call. This is going to be the Savage event that creates a token. So you create a Savage Warrior token with 1000 power, and then you may drop 1 to draw 1. The filtering effect is really good. Helps you clean up your hand, helps you maybe draw into that next threat you're looking for. Playing 3 copies of Savage Slice. This is the Savage Removal event card, which on play it deals 2,000 damage to target unit. Then you deal an additional 1,000 damage to that unit for every 3 runes its controller has in play. So a great card at any stage of the game, and it pairs up really well with Zac 5. All these events do, and that's probably one of the coolest things when messing around with this archetype was just how good these events are with Zac 5. And then we have 3 Savage Surprise, the newest event that was developed for base set 1. It's a quick event, cost 2, 1 Savage Rune, and it's quick. Create a Savage Warrior token with 1000 power, and if you control 3 or more unit tokens, draw 1 card. So very good in this archetype because we are going to be focused around creating tokens and using tokens. And additionally, that bonus effect of creating your third or more token and then drawing a card is great. And then additionally, it's awesome because on defense, if you are on turn 2 and you're playing against aggressive strategy, you can leave 2 up. If they swing in with like Amara the Untamed, you can tap 2, create a token, block with it, and stop yourself from taking any damage. Again, this is also really cool with Zac 5 as well when you want to get additional pressure on the board. So at the end of your opponent's turn, let's say you like play Zac 5, turning the tide, he's quick, comes into play, target Savage Surprise, and then now you have a Zac 5 on board plus a token, so you can pressure the opponent. And then we're playing 2 copies of Rune Shift. This is our card that's going to help us clean up our resource area throughout the game and make sure we always have the necessary cards we need to be able to cast all of our units and event cards. Additionally, it helps you refresh any of the ancient runes that have been flipped in your action, during your action phase. When you use an ancient rune ability, you can shuffle it back into your stockpile and then pull it back out, put it into your resource area. And one of the cool things about Rune Shift is the fact that it does actually put the rune from your stockpile into your resource area into play in ready mode. So you can use that one additional rune during that turn, which is really cool. And it pairs really well with Ramus 4, which I'll go over in a second, because Ramus 4, whenever you play an event card, the first time you play an event card, you get to ready one of your exhausted runes. So that's really powerful. So let's go into our units. We're playing 2 10 skilled duelist. 10 has play. Units with cost 4 or more can't block until your next startup. We're not playing 3 copies because 10 is definitely one of those cards where it requires a lot of setup, because you basically want to build a board, and then if your opponent only has like high costed threats in play, you basically just like one-shot them or OTK them because they won't be able to block for the turn, so you only want to play 2. We're playing 3 Ren Savage General. Again, this is just great for our token archetype because it pumps up all of our tokens by 1k while it's in play. And then again, when it's removed from play, you draw 1 and create a Savage Warrior token. So it pairs really well with that Savage Rune as I mentioned earlier. We're playing 3 Dean Architect of the Future, who has Mastery. So whenever you play your first event during your turn, you can exhaust target unit. And then Constant, whenever this unit breaks a rune, rummage 5 for an event. This is really powerful because, on turn 1, you play Dean Architect of the Future. On turn 2, whether you play Savage Call, Savage Surprise, you could play Calculation on turn 2. You get to then trigger Mastery. You can rest or exhaust your opponent's blocker, swing in, break one of the runes from the top of their stockpile, and then dig 5 cards deep into your archive to find that next event card, and you can just keep the engine going, which is really powerful. I'm playing 1 Maul Methodical Researcher. This card is really great. Probably one of my favorite designs that Chris Kreitzman brought to the table. Has a constant ability. As long as you have 4 more event cards in your discard pile, Maul has critical and can't be blocked. So we're only playing 1 copy of Maul just because she is conditional, but she's a great finisher. And then it has attack, mill 1, and you may recover 1. Mill 1 means placing the top card of your archive into your discard pile, and the recover 1 means choosing 1 card from your archive and placing on the 1 card from your discard pile and placing on the bottom of your archive. So just a really neat effect there to help you recycle some cards back in, and then also potentially get another event card in your discard pile to make her effect relevant. But just another finisher card that we just play 1 of. Playing 3 Sue Spirit of the Intellects. Major reason why is because Sue costs 2 but only 1 Intellect rune. And he has a constant. Each player plays with the top card of their stockpile revealed. So this means that when you're trying to swing in, it helps you calculate, when you want to swing, what damage you want to deal, if you're going to be breaking an ancient rune, etc. And likewise for you, like if your opponent's attacking you, you get to know what the top card of your stockpile is when it does get broken. So you get full information, which is great. And then play, choose 1. Target player either reveals their hand to you, or you can exhaust target unit. So again, it plays really well into that tempo strategy we're talking about, where we just want to exhaust our opponent's threats. We don't really necessarily care about removing them too much. And it's great because you can even, with Dean Architect of the Future on turn 1, Sue on turn 2, if you don't have an event card, you can exhaust that blocker and then get in with Dean, which is awesome. We're playing 4 Ramus Running Interference. Ramus is great because he's a 4-cost unit, but only 1 specified Intellect rune to cast him. And he does have criticals. That means when he swings in, he does deal 2 damage instead of 1. And then as a constant, after you play your first event each turn, ready an Intellect rune. And that's what I was saying about Rune Shift, is you can essentially tap the 2 for Rune Shift, cycle one of those tapped runes into your stockpile, and then take a rune from your stockpile and place it into your resource area readied. And then you then get to ready an Intellect rune since you played your first event card for the turn. So it's cost you 0, which is pretty incredible. And then Ramus also has on play bounce target enemy units. That means it returns that unit that's in play to its owner's hand. And then we're playing 3 Zac Turning the Tide. Best card for the Intellects, hands down. Fantastic card for this archetype. Has Mastery, so it has the same keyword as Dean, and then also has Critical, so it does 2 damage instead of 1. And then on play, you may place target enemy unit, exhaust enemy unit on the top or bottom of its owner's archive, and then play target event from your discard pile without paying its cost. Then exile that event. He is quick as well, so you can play it on both players' turns at any time. And so again, this pairs really well with Last Ditch Effort, Savage Slice. You can do calculation, Way of the Intellects. You can do a rune shift if you want to. You can access Savage Surprise, Savage Call. So just this archetype kind of really shows off the true power of Zac Turn of the Tide in these multi-faction archetypes. And this archetype, it really shines through just because with the token element, being able to create a lot of tokens, whether it be offensively or defensively, means that you have great blockers and you can just pick away at your opponent's life total by breaking, runes from their stockpile and reducing them, much quicker because you just have a wider board. And then we play 3 6-drop Ramus Master of Arms. Costs 3 Intellect runes. Has Overwhelm, which means that if Ramus is only partially blocked, you're still going to get in and deal a damage. So your opponent has to commit a bunch of bodies to block Ramus or a 5500 power unit to block Ramus. Otherwise, you're still going to take a damage. And then has a constant at the start of your end phase, ready 1 rune. And then has play, exhaust 2 target units. If it's your turn, those units don't ready till their controller's next startup. So great defensively because it's quick, but really powerful offensively because you can just tap 2 of their blockers that are in play. They don't get to ready during your opponent's next turn, so they effectively stay, rested throughout their turn and going back into your turn. So it's just a really powerful offensive and defensive card. And like I said, we're really just trying to clear the way for all of our tokens and all of our smaller units and just really use our tokens as a way to either just, provide tons of blockers to be able to stop our opponent from getting through with really powerful attackers, or be a really amazing way to close a game since you're just going to be spending time exhausting all your opponent's blockers and just getting in, and chipping away at them. And then of course you have 10 skilled duelists where it's like if your opponent ever gets greedy with their 4 cost or more units, you can really punish them with 10. She comes down, units with cost 4 or more can't block until your next startup. And then so that just means you just get to go at it, turn in all your tokens sideways, and your opponent can't do anything about it. But overall, this archetype was really fun to put together, really fun to play, and I hope you guys check out the print and plays, get all your cards, and make the most of it. Enjoy it. Base set 1 is going to be released. The target's end of the year. The set is done. I'm excited to get the cards all out there for everyone to see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this short video. And if you like content like this or want more content like this, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, notifications, etc. But thanks so much for watching. Thanks for supporting Runes of Expandable card game. Okay, thanks. Bye!